Are you ready? 6:30. It is now 6:30, and the Municipality of Anchorage Platting Board Authority will come to order. May we have roll call?
Mr. Abel?
Here.
Mr. Fuller?
Here.
Mr. Young?
Present.
Mr. Edmondson?
Here.
Mr. Walker?
Here.
Mr. Porter?
Here.
Mr. Cross?
Here.
Mr. Cole? Ms. Enix? Thank you.
And we have a quorum present. Are there any agenda changes? Seeing none, we'll turn first to the action summaries. Wednesday, May 6, 2015. May I have a motion approving the action summary, May 6? Trevor Edmondson moves and Ken Fuller seconds. Is there any opposition to approving the Platting Board summary of action, May 6? Seeing none, the motion passes. Next, we'll turn to the minutes. We have a number of minutes to be approved. Looks like May 6, 2015, December 7, 2011, July 6, 2011, January 6, 2010, April 7, 2010, August 4, 2010, October 6, 2010. You do not have to have been a member of the board during the meeting to vote on the approval of the minutes. May I have a motion to approve the minutes? Dan Young, would you please state your motion?
Yes, I move to approve the minutes. However, I would like to make two corrections on page or on July 6, 2011. On page 3, second line, change the word mover to petitioner. And on page 8, the third to last paragraph, the last sentence, change the word homing to calming. And with those changes, I'll support my motion.
Thank you. And Steve Abel seconds. Any other discussion? Is there any opposition to approving the minutes pursuant to the motion? Seeing none, this motion passes. Next item of business is disclosures. Are there any disclosures to be made? Ken Fuller.
Case S12171, Fairview Subdivision. I'm a participant in this, in my corporation, a participant in this proposition.
For clarification, you have an economic interest in the outcome of this particular matter?
Definitely.
And so you would like to be excused from participating in this matter?
Right.
Okay. Dan Young, you have a motion?
Yes, I move to have Mr. Fuller participate in case S12171.
And Dan Porter seconds. Would you speak to your motion?
Yes, I do not intend to support this motion because Mr. Fuller stated that his corporation has a financial interest in this and he's asked to be recused, and I support recusing him.
Thank you. Any other comments on the motion? And I call the vote on that. The motion for your Ken Fuller's participation does not pass, and you are directed to not participate in that matter. Are there any other disclosures? I don't see any. Okay. Next, we have some informational items that have been placed before us. Action summaries for May 11th and May 18th. They do not require a motion. So it does not appear like there is anything on the consent agenda, and we have no pending old business. So with that, we'll turn to the new business. And the procedure by which the public may speak to the Platting Board at this meeting is, after the staff presentation is completed on public hearing items, I will ask the public testimony on the issue. Persons who wish to testify will follow the time limits established in the Commission Rules of Procedure. Petitioners, including their representatives, have 10 minutes. Part of their time may be reserved for rebuttal. Representatives of groups, community councils, PTAs, they have 5 minutes. Individuals have 3 minutes. When your testimony is complete, you may be asked questions by the board. You may only testify once on any issue unless questioned by the board. We will now take up the matter of S12171, Fairview Subdivision, Extension Number 1, Tract 1A. May we have staff's presentation on this matter?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This preliminary plat is a request for subdivision of 4 tracts and 1 lot into 1 tract with the vacation of a portion of Park Lane right-of-way and cul-de-sac, vacation of a 30-foot driveway easement dedicated by Plat 67-1, vacation of a 10-foot drainage easement dedicated by Plat 2010-79, vacation of a portion of a 10-foot T&E and drainage easement within the Park Lane right-of-way being dedicated with this plat, and vacation of a temporary public use easement dedicated by Plat 2010-79. To give you a brief history of this case, a site plan review and conditional use public hearing for a self-storage, vehicle storage, and containerized storage facility was approved on June 4th, 2012 by the Planning and Zoning Commission. A preliminary plat of Fairview Extension Number 1, Tracts 1A and 8B, was approved by the Platting Board on June 6, 2012. The plat approved subsequently expired due to unresolved conditions associated with that approval. A second preliminary plat was approved by the Platting Board on September 3rd, 2014, which was intended to correct and complete the previously expired plat. The property was subsequently sold prior to completion of the approved plat for case S12078. The new owners are seeking approval of the same plat that was approved in 2014 with 2 minor changes. The first change, the previous approval created 2 tracts. This approval creates 1. And second, the dedication of Park Lane with this platting action was moved slightly west, whereas the previous plat, than where the previous plat was to dedicate. This preliminary plat requires buffer landscaping in accordance with AMC 2145-125C2 along the east petition site boundary adjoining the residential zoning district. A 15-foot planting bed width is to be required under AMC 2145-290K1 standards for self-storage and vehicle storage facilities. Visual enhancement landscaping is being required in accordance with AMC 2145-125C1 along all lot lines that adjoin commercially zoned property. Road improvements from the north-south alignment of Park Lane to the easterly terminus. The petitioner is required to construct to municipal standards a 33-foot wide paved street with type 1 barrier curb and gutter on both sides of the street. At the easterly terminus of Park Lane, the petitioner is required to construct to municipal standards a paved commercial cul-de-sac with type 1 barrier curb and gutter and having a 59.7 foot radius to the back of curb. From the northerly boundary of Tract 8A south of the southerly terminus of Park Lane right-of-way, petitioner is required to construct municipal standards a 24-foot wide paved half street with type 1 barrier curb and gutter with a 5-foot wide concrete sidewalk on the subdivision side in accordance with the detail in your staff packet. Street improvements will taper and transition into the existing improvements. As was mentioned just a second ago, the petitioner is requesting vacations. I'd like to go through each vacation separately, as there are several. The petitioner is requesting to vacate a portion of Park Lane right-of-way. This vacated right-of-way will be incorporated into proposed Tract 1A. The petitioner is dedicating right-of-way west of the proposed Tract 1A to provide the cul-de-sac for Park Lane. The 30-foot driveway easement, this easement extends across existing Tract 7A to the west and was established to provide access to Cleven Street to existing Tract 1 prior to construction of Park Lane. This property is now provided access from constructed right-of-way, and it appears to be access to municipal need. Vacation of the 10-foot drainage easement. This easement bisects existing Tract 8A and Lot 9A. Since this tract and lot are being combined with this platting action, there is no longer a need for this easement. The property owner is required to provide a comprehensive site grading and drainage plan to address the possible need for drainage easements elsewhere. The temporary public use easement. This public use easement is being vacated as a portion of Tract 8A is being dedicated to right-of-way, which makes this easement no longer necessary. And lastly, the 10-foot T&E and drainage easement. Portion of this easement is being dedicated to right-of-way with this platting action, which again makes the easement no longer necessary. In conclusion, street maintenance has objected to the vacation of a portion of Park Lane and the drainage easements. Staff believes that appropriate conditions have been placed on the plat to ensure adequate right-of-way is being dedicated and constructed to serve the public and be maintained by street maintenance. The petitioner is required to submit to private development for review and approval a comprehensive site grading and drainage plan to resolve the need for additional drainage easements and drainage improvements, and to demonstrate that all post-development drainage patterns will not adversely affect adjacent properties or rights-of-way. Because all properties in the area are being provided both legal and physical access, and appropriate conditions have been placed on the plat to ensure that the public's interests are met, staff finds that the right-of-way and easements are access to municipal need and recommends that the vacations be approved. Thank you very much, and I would be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for staff? Seeing none, we will open the hearing to the public. You may come to and first step is to have the petitioner's presentation. I'll ask you to state your name for the record.
Melissa Branch, B-R-A-N-C-H, with Enterprise Engineering, and I'm here with the petitioner, Joel Fuller. We have no objection to the recommendations, the conditions, and would like to reserve our time to answer questions and for a rebuttal.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Don Porter.
Through the chair. Drainage seems to be the question, so do you have a plan to address the drainage at this time, or has that been developed?
Yes, so in this area, there's no piped storm drain system. And so the existing portion of Park Lane that's been constructed near the Cook Inlet, the lofts that are to the north, actually has an infiltration system. And so we're looking at something similar for the roadway system to address that, because right now the right-of-way drains onto the tract that's being created. And then we're looking at an infiltration, an on-site infiltration system for the Park Lane storage site as well.
So you're saying that the public right-of-way drains onto the lot.
Currently, yes.
You're going to be required to take care of that drainage plus whatever drainage is
Right.
developed.
So we're either going to look at being able to address that within the right-of-way or having an easement to drain it. So, I mean, we haven't figured that part out yet, but we are looking at that.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Thank you. We'll now open the hearing to public testimony. Are there any members of the public wishing to testify?
Good evening. My name is Stuart Bannon, B-A-N-N-A-N.
Are
I'm
you
here
going
on
to be,
behalf of,
sir, are you going to testify as part of a group, or are you testifying on your own behalf?
I'm testifying for my employer, the Anchorage Community Land Trust, who owns tract 6D and 7A, adjoining or neighboring the proposal.
Okay, thank you.
We would simply like to reiterate the objection that the maintenance department had concerning snow removal. Our building is a 50,000 square foot building, and we have many tenants and visitors. In fact, that east side has warehouse bays, and one of the primary access is down Park. And our concern is the snow storage and snow removal aspect. Park is sort of a small street, and just observing the snow plows in the winter, it is awkward for them to go down the gradient and then head off towards the cul-de-sac. And our concern would be that we wouldn't receive the snow removal service that we require for the large amount of traffic we have to our building. I think that would apply as well to the Brown Jug to the north and potentially to the Cook Inlet Housing building over to the east. Other than that, we have no objection to this petition. We would just like to ensure that the snow removal objection for maintenance is duly recognized and addressed.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions? Trevor Edmondson.
I guess I'd just ask, what is going to be different in regards to snow removal, in regards to this platting action?
Our concern is spelled out for the maintenance department is where the snow plows should physically turn around. Since it is a dead end, there's no way to get off of Park back onto Mountain View Drive. And if that would deter them from doing that, and then the snow storage aspect, we have a private drive that ends about at that 90-degree turn of Park. And we'll, of course, do that and store our snow on our own property. But how the snow removal and storage would interact with our removal, and then how that plow would turn around, would be our major concern.
Maybe you could describe to me how snow is being stored from the municipal right-of-way now, and how this platting action might make that different than it currently is, or maybe a better way to ask this is, how will it make it worse than what it currently is?
Well, certainly I'm not an expert on street maintenance, but simply looking out of our office window, the snow is, my understanding, is usually put around in that cul-de-sac that's deeper into the proposed tract to the east. And so we don't typically have any issues with snow being stored in any way that interferes currently with our private drive that comes off at an angle from Park. And just simply looking at what's proposed, our concern would be that the snow would begin to be pushed up against our private drive And so it would not, it would not be stored as efficiently, from our point of view, clearing our private drive.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin Cross?
Thank you, through the chair. So is it my understanding that currently the snow that's accumulating is just being stored on the undeveloped property? And your concern is where is that snow going to go now?
Exactly. That's been my observation through the winter, is that we rarely get it trucked out.
Okay.
So it is stored down there.
So, okay. Thank you very much.
And Don Porter.
Through the chair. So I guess my question would be, are you familiar enough with the proposal that they're showing to dedicate right-of-way as part of this plat just south of Tract 11A?
Yes.
You're familiar with that?
Yes.
So, I mean, the areas seem rather similar, and in fact, as far as maneuverability, they're giving them much more maneuverability to make the turnaround. So I am having a little trouble understanding, other than they put it down all the way at the end away from you, and now it's being stored closer to you. Is that the only concern, or?
Yes, that is the primary concern, and then, how that intrudes on to that drive for our tenants' access would be our major concern. And having the snow there, I would assume that the drainage of that melting snow would be dealt with, since our building is further downhill from Mountain View Drive.
And that's kind of part of that drainage process.
Yes.
They're gonna be held to a pretty high standard based on what I heard from the engineer, because they're already having to take care of drainage that comes onto their lot. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing no one else in the room, would you like to use your rebuttal time?
I'd like to speak to his concern about snow storage and some of the conversations we've had with traffic and private development and street maintenance preliminarily. As he noted, right now snow, because there's no division, has been kind of just stored on the Park Lanes property, and now there'll be a fence and landscaping. But we have had discussions, and the right-of-way has been dedicated, and actually the turnaround's larger, the dedication, than what was there originally, to have room for that and to have the maneuverability. And we are looking at the grading, and one of the things that has come up with the site is how we maintain that driveway and access to that driveway with the turnaround and the drainage and the work we're doing. So we are accounting for that.
And I have some questions, I believe. Dan Young and then Don Porter.
Yes, thank you. Through the chair. So I'm looking at the map, and the area that's the right-of-way that's dedicated for this plat, which is on the north side of the road, the access road. And it does look like it's adequate for snow storage. If that was used for snow storage, would that resolve the issue that was brought up by Mr. Bannon?
I believe so.
Thank you.
And Don Porter.
Through the chair. So is it the intent to have a driveway on Park Lane as part of the ingress and egress for Tract 1A?
Well, so for their track, is it track 1A? For their, for our tract, yes. Yes,
tract.
we're going to, yes, have
there will be-
access from that turnaround onto that property, yes. So our legal access will be from Park Lane.
Yeah. So the idea of them storing snow, say, in the center of a cul-de-sac is not really going to work out. So it's going to have to be maybe stored maybe to the right-of-way that's dedicated to the plat, for instance. They may very well stow.
Right, but they can do that. I mean, within the right-of-way, I mean, store it and not have to put it, yes, in the center of the cul-de-sac.
So by requiring to have that driveway open to access, it's going to probably alleviate the concerns of 6D in the sense that they're going to also benefit from making sure that that driveway access is open.
Right, they'll have an improved roadway to have access to.
Okay, thank you.
Trevor Edmondson.
Through the chair, Ms. Branch, and probably a question for Mr. Whitfield as well. It sounds like you both have had conversations with street maintenance. Maybe you can enlighten us a little bit as to those conversations and whether you've addressed their concerns, or why, in Mr. Whitfield's case, why he didn't feel like they didn't need to be addressed in his recommendations for approval.
Through the chair, Mr. Edmondson, I have not personally spoke with anyone from street maintenance. I believe that the reviewers in street maintenance probably don't have a very good understanding of how the platting process works and what they're going to be getting with this subdivision. Park Lane currently is a substandard roadway. I think that you know, in this platting action, we're going to be getting a standard roadway, commercially constructed, that has ample room for both turning and maneuvering and snow storage. I think that the comments that private development have made adequately address the drainage concerns. They adequately address the snow storage. That's part of their job. And I think that the conditions placed on this plat will ensure that the needs of the public are met, and to the gentleman who testified here tonight.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Whitfield. Ms. Branch, did you have anything to add to that?
We've had a lot of conversations with street maintenance over the time, because we were looking at options for turnarounds or hammerheads, you know, trying to see what we could do to improve the roadway from what's there, because right now the terminus kind of ends in the sea of asphalt that is, you know, the Park Lane's parking lot, and now that'll all be separated. And so we were having conversations with them about what options we had for that and how that would work. And they didn't like the idea of a turnaround, like a hammerhead turnaround, because of that, because of snow storage and maneuverability, and wanted the traditional turnaround, cul-de-sac turnaround. And so those are the conversations we had with them, was about having that and the traditional of that. I think right now part of it is that they've enjoyed being able to just, because it's all open, you know, there's the ease of that, and now we're going to have definitely defined areas with what we're proposing, but we've been working with them and with traffic and private development of how to address those things. I mean, the drainage and the snow storage with this change, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Seeing none, thank you. This closes the public hearing, and the matter now rests with the board. May I have a motion to approve the vacation of a portion of the right-of-way? Don Porter moves. Would you state your motion?
Through the chair, I make a motion that we approve the vacation of the portion of the right-of-way known as Park Lane to include the subject cul-de-sac with items 1 and 2 under the Department Recommendations A to resolve with private development, traffic, and fire plan review the geometric design and the location of the cul-de-sac for Park Lane, and item 2 to record a suitable plat within 18 months of approval.
Thank you, and Dan Young seconds. Would you speak to your motion?
Given the discussion here today, and both with the proposals and with the, we found that maybe they have adequate controls in place to approve this plat. The department has duly considered all the comments that have come in and put in plenty of controls to specifically address even the street maintenance comments.
Thank you. Any other statements or findings? Is there any opposition to the motion? Dan Young.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, am going to support this, and one of the findings here is on page 9, under the portion of the Park Lane right-of-way, that the petitioner is going to provide a cul-de-sac, and this is going to be worked out. So I just want to put those in the findings. I will support this.
Thank you. Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. May I have a motion to approve vacation of the 30-foot driveway easement? Don Porter makes the motion. Would you please state your motion?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we approve the vacation of the 30-foot driveway easement, 10-foot drainage easement, and a portion of the 10-foot easement, telephone, electric, and drainage easement within the Park Lane right-of-way being dedicated for this plat, and for the temporary use easement dedicated by the plat 21079, subject to condition 1 of recording a suitable plat within 18 months of approval.
Thank you. And Trevor Edmondson seconds. Would you speak to your motion, please?
Based on the department's presentation and their notation that the easements that have been presented are excess to the public need, and that suitable replacements will be put in place as with this plat, I intend to support this motion.
Thank you. And Dan Young? Does anyone else have additional findings to be made? Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. And can we have a motion to approve the plat for 18 months? Don Porter moves. Would you please state your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I move that we approve the plat for 18 months, subject to the following conditions, and I won't bear to read them all, but it's conditions 1 through 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that are department recommendations under item C.
Thank you, sir. And Trevor Edmondson seconds. Would you like to speak to your motion?
As we've discussed before in the previous approvals, the items that they have required, the utility easements and all of the other conditions placed on it are following Title 21 and the requirements that would be apt for this situation. So I'm inclined to support this motion.
Thank you. Any other findings? Is there any opposition to the motion? Seeing none, the motion passes. Any individual may have appeal rights relating to any action the Platting Board takes. Appeal of this decision or any of the conditions is governed by AMC 2111-304. The decision of the Board at the scheduled public hearing shall become final 7 calendar days after the date the decision is made on the record, unless a written request is submitted to the Planning Division prior to the expiration of the 7th day to prepare a written decision based upon the record made at the hearing, and the request is accompanied by a written notice of intent to appeal. Adoption of the written decision by the Platting Board becomes the final appealable decision. within 20 days of the final appealable decision, an interested party must file with the municipal clerk either a written motion alleging new evidence or changed circumstances per AMC 2111-503, or an appeal of the board's final appealable decision per AMC 2130. Are there any appearance requests? Are there any persons to be heard? And are there any board member comments? And with that, the meeting is adjourned.